This is Real Retirees Uncut, no filters, no scripts, just conversations about what retirement is really like. Let's meet today's real retiree. Give me your name, age, and where you're from.
My name is Cynthia Ferguson Banks, and I am a retired Master Sergeant. I am from the great state of North Carolina. However, I'm a transplant here in Fayetteville because I am down on the coast, a small town named Belgrade, 12 miles north of Camp Lejeune, the Marine base.
When did you retire and from what career did you retire from?
I retired from the United States Army June 1st, 1999.
Okay. What drove your decision to retire? When did you know that it was time to go and you've had enough? And what was that tipping point to make you retire?
Since I did most of my career out of the country, overseas, I really enjoyed it. But I had to come back to the United States because I couldn't stay over there but so long. However, when they sent me to Fort Bragg, my tipping point were when I became Master Sergeant at such, and when I came on the E8 list at 16 years in the military. I waited a year before I got promoted because of the career field that I was in. I had to wait a year and I got promoted before I had 18 years in. But the tipping point for me were at Fort Bragg, the NCOs let the officers get a leg up on the jobs that the officers was in charge of police call, extra detail, and the way that I've done it in my military career, those are NCO jobs. So I knew right then, if I can hang in here till 18, 19, put in my retirement papers, and I wasn't placed on levy to go back overseas, I decided then that I had had enough because the job that I did, the officers want to do it. And I wasn't going to play with them like that.
Yeah. So leading up to retirement, what was your approach to saving to make sure that you had enough money to set yourself up financially in retirement? How did you plan your savings?
Well, what make it different for me, other than some other soldiers, I was married and my husband and I did not have any kids.
Mm-hmm.
So back in the early 80s, if you was in the early 80s, late 80s or early 81, you remember we used to have pay lines. Then you had to find a financial institution to send your money to. I chose Andrews Federal Credit Union, which is in Clinton, Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
And by me doing that, I was able to save my money because I was so far away from it. And the financial institutions on the installations that I was at, they didn't cater to them.
So you mainly had a savings account, or did you do any investing or
I did a
401k?
I did a savings account.
Mm-hmm.
No, I did not do a 401k. I did a savings account
Okay.
because, like so many soldiers, whether you're black, white, or whatever, you would probably, like me myself, I would send allotment home to my mother.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to balance for me and what I was going to do for her.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then for me, since I lived in the barracks, I had bedding, place to sleep, clothes on my back,
Mm-hmm.
and food to eat. And most of the places that I was at, sometimes we wasn't allowed to have vehicles, but as you get up and move up in the rank, I was able to ship my car overseas, and or I was able to have a driver.
Okay. So yeah, let's go back to savings for a minute. Just primarily was your savings account that you had at the credit union.
I had a savings and a checking account.
Okay. So that was how you save your money throughout your military career.
Yes.
Let's shift focus for a second. Now that you're retired, what are your primary means of retirement income to sustain yourself from month to month, year to year? What do you use for that?
Well, I do not spend my retirement. I live off my disability and my Social Security.
So it sounds like you have a pension.
Yes,
Okay, pension, and
right.
you
I
don't.
have my retirement.
Mm-hmm.
I have a disability, and my husband is deceased, which really breaks my heart.
Yeah, sorry to hear that.
I am too.
Yeah.
So when he did not leave me without anything,
Okay.
my home is paid off. I own my home,
Mm-hmm.
and
Okay.
I'm able to do a lot more than others because it's me, myself, and I.
Right. Um, so since you have retired, have you found it tough to go from a savings mentality to a spending mentality? A lot of times we save for 30 or 40 years, but then when it's time to start spending that money, it becomes a challenge. Have you faced any of that?
No,
Not at all. Yeah,
I
no.
have no problem. No, but you have to take a look at your situation
Hmm.
because my husband and I did separate
Okay.
before he passed, and I had to look at it. Am I able to maintain this place?
Hmm.
Not for this year or this month. I always look at things like you did in the military. You got short term planning
Yeah.
and long term
Right.
planning. And it's the same thing with your vehicles. Why go and buy a vehicle if you got a mortgage
Hmm.
or if you have a family? You got to take a look at, and then not using our political situations, but they do change
Right.
locally,
Hmm.
state,
Okay.
federal, and national.
Now you mentioned Social Security. Sound like you've already taken Social Security. So what age did you take Social Security, and why did you choose to take it at that particular age?
I took Social Security when I retired.
At what age did you take it?
I was 41. However,
You were able to take Social Security at
yes,
41?
yes,
How were you able to do that? Explain
because
that
I
to me.
was getting 60% disability. When I walked out of the
Okay.
military, I walked out with a 60% rating,
Okay. And that
which means I could still work.
and that qualified you to take your Social Security at that age?
Not all.
Okay.
I was getting partial.
All right.
What inspired me to get full Social Security? Well, it didn't inspire me. I used to go to the VA because, like a lot of veterans, we have difficulty adjusting to the outside world.
Mm-hmm.
In the military, we are sergeant first class, we are master sergeant, we are sergeant major or command
Yeah.
sergeant major, or if you're an officer, you've always been in those leadership positions.
Okay.
The hardest thing is you're not an OJ anymore, you're a no J.
Now in retirement, what does a typical day look like for you in retirement? From the time you get up in the morning to the time you go to bed, just kind of run me through a normal average day for you.
Well, I'm not consistent because I do not have to be consistent.
Okay.
But I try to get in some exercise.
Mm-hmm.
I eat properly. And since I don't live in my own surroundings, I pay attention to the surrounding. You go to church, you find your church family.
Mm-hmm.
And if you really need to talk to someone, and nothing has to be wrong with you, it's just you wake up one morning and you're in a fog.
Yeah.
You can go to the VA and you can tell your primary care provider, hey, I'm not adjusting well with this. Is there someone I can talk to?
Yeah. Now, what do you enjoy most about retirement?
Be in control of my own self
Mm-hmm.
and having the opportunity to make decisions of things that I want to do. Like I have certain programs that I support. I have programs that I volunteer with, and most of all, finding if you grew up and you understand whatever religion or whomever you worship or how you worship,
Mm-hmm.
I highly recommend that you find a church family, a mosque, a
Okay.
synagogue, or whatever your religious flavor is.
Have you had any major lifestyle changes? Have you downsized your house? Have you moved, or anything major happened since you retired?
No, but at my current age now, at 67, in 3 years I'm going to be 70.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really considering downsizing. But the problem that I am having now well, let's not use the word problem, because when people hear the word problems, it
Mm-hmm.
kind of frighten them.
Yeah.
So my concerns and issues are right now, I pray that my health is good like I am now.
Yeah.
And I would like to downsize, but I haven't decided where I want to go
Understand.
and where I want to live. But one thing I do know, I do not want to live in an apartment complex, because if something happens to the person that live below you
Yeah.
and or above
Could
you,
affect you.
it could affect you
Yeah.
in ways that you never saw coming. So if you're going to make these decisions, make sure you be prepared. Safety, safety, safety.
Have you picked up any new hobbies, new interests, or new skills since you retired?
Yes,
And what are they?
I like making flower arrangements.
Mm-hmm.
Silk, of course, not the real ones. I do jigsaw puzzles, put them together.
Yeah.
I've taught myself how to crochet,
Okay.
and I became a doll collector. I'm a Barbie collector.
All right. Have you had any um, major? Well, let me back up. What has been the biggest challenge or the biggest surprise since you've retired? Something that might have happened that you didn't think was going to happen, or something that didn't happen that you thought was going to happen.
Being alone
That's been a big challenge for you.
still is.
Yeah. Okay. Huh. I can imagine.
Because when you retire, you're starting another part of your life.
Mhm.
Some marriages do not survive. Some marriages do survive.
Yeah.
Because you have to realize, as a veteran, whether you retired or if you did 5, 10 years, 15, or whatever, there are changes. Now, for me, myself, because my husband started working over in the Middle East,
Mhm.
I found myself drinking more
Yeah.
than I could have ever imagined.
Yeah. Now, do you wish that you would have retired sooner than you did, or do you wish you would have retired later,
I retired just when I was supposed to.
just on time?
Retirement or getting out of the military, you have to take a look in your heart. And if your heart is not in it anymore,
Mm-hmm.
you really need to leave.
Yeah. Now, is there anything that you would have done differently to better prepare for retirement?
That's a very good question, and it's a difficult question. I thought, you always think you are ready to do certain things, but it's kind of like a Monday morning quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
You take a look at the game from the day before, and you're like, wow, maybe if I'd have went to bed earlier that night, I probably wouldn't have been tired. But as for me, if I probably wouldn't have came back to the United States, I probably would have stayed in and did 30 years
Okay, so maybe stayed a little bit longer.
if I wasn't
Yeah.
at some bases. All
Mhm.
bases are not the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me one thing that you're glad you no longer have to deal with, whether it's alarm clock, traffic, or whatever. What is that one thing that you're glad you no longer have to deal with as far as work is concerned?
I can get up when I want to.
Okay. In a few words, can you tell me what is your definition of retirement success? If you had to sum it up in a few words.
You've accomplished and achieved what you wanted to do. But my one greatest success for my 20 plus years in the military is I never lost a soldier on leave,
Yeah.
on the base, or any place. That's one of my greatest achievements.
Okay. And in closing, what is some general advice that you can give to somebody that's maybe 1 to 5 years from retirement? Maybe not military related, but just something that we haven't covered already. If somebody's approaching retirement, they're about a year, 5 years out. What is that advice that you can give them to make sure that they're properly prepared?
Take a look at what the education program is like for you today. So once you get out, if you want to continue your education, are the funds there?
Mm-hmm.
Because I've been out for quite some time and I don't understand the education program anymore. However, I received all my education while I was on active duty.
Yeah.
It was challenging and it was hard. But when you get out, and if you're not sure what you want to do, you can always go to a trade school. You can go and get a 2-year degree, but make sure it's something that you want to do or been wanting to do.
Okay. All right. Great advice. And I appreciate your time and all the other advice that you've shared. So please like, share, and subscribe.
Thank you so very much. And I hope you that watch this video or listen to what I've said, give you something to think about. But if you have a family, you got to think about it from another whole perspective.